Hey, Paul here from London. Hey, this is basically like part number 2 of my videos about intuition. And in my previous video I spoke about, okay, what exactly is intuition and how can you recognize that it's starting to wake up again, which we all have. However, we go through life, especially when we are adults, basically we're starting to block certain kind of gifts, certain kind of talents, certain kind of sensors, okay, which we all have, which we already had, but then when we live our lives, go through life in this third dimensional realm, it seems we are trying to shut it off, suppress it, or whatever. So in this video I'd like to share with you on how to use your intuition to find basically your purpose in life. Now, what exactly do I mean by purpose? Purpose is doing an activity that you love doing most. And if we are really going into the spirituality, let's say it in that way, I believe that we have a soul, and this soul, before it incarnated into our physical body, it made like a contract with other beings from higher dimensions, saying like, hey, you're going to incarnate in this lifetime here on planet Earth in this physical realm, and we gave you a mission to do something, okay? We gave you a mission to do a specific kind of activity that you all really love doing most, because love is like a very high vibration, and that's what basically conscious all wants. It wants to expand, it wants to grow, and love is basically doing that. So how to recognize your intuition for your purpose, for your path in life. Now, intuition always comes up with weird things, right? That doesn't make sense. For example, right, you're in a job, you're pretty comfortable, you can take care for yourself, sustain yourself, you're okay financially, you're paying your bills, but you're not fulfilled. Now, when you're not fulfilled, that means you are basically not connecting to the collective, okay? And the collective is basically like a state of consciousness, a grid around the planet, which we are all part of, which we are all connected to. We are like drops of water in an ocean without realizing we are the ocean. So that's basically what it is. So we find that sense of fulfillment and purpose when we are connecting to the collective, okay? When we are basically feeding the collective, because when we are feeding the collective, it's something that's unconditional, that is our natural state, our natural core essence, okay? That's how we are feeding the collective, because when we do, we tap into the flow of life, okay, into waves in the flow of life, and then there are so much coming back through this collective, because the collective is part of even a higher state of consciousness, and that's, let's say, the fifth dimension of oneness, singularity, which is infinity, okay, infinite energy from our universe. And our universe could be just like another cell, right? Imagine just a cell being part of a multiverse, which is even, well, you can't really wrap your mind around that idea, but anyway, use your intuition to find your path, your purpose in life, because like I said, before we incarnated into our physical realm, we have like a soul contract, especially the old souls who've been incarnated here on this planet a couple of times and who've been to other places before, other star systems, whatever, and then not doing your soul purpose and getting stuck at a place where you don't belong. There's nothing so painful as getting stuck at a place where you don't belong. Why? Because you are not connecting to the collective, you're not serving the collective, and therefore the collective is not serving you, and therefore you will experience health issues, codependent relationships, career problems, financial problems, stuff like that, because you're not connected to the collective. And once you do, that means that you are on purpose, you are on track. Now, your intuition, okay, the collective gives you signs, okay, but also your guides who are above the collective give you signs. So your intuition is like the receiver of such, okay? Now, it's always the first things that comes up, you know, what I also mentioned in my previous video. When you're driving in traffic and your navigation, your sat nav is saying, hey, go straight, you know, because your GPS is not seeing the traffic jams ahead yet, but your intuition says, go right, which doesn't make sense because go right goes into suburban areas and it goes off the motorway, and it completely doesn't make sense. So that's the first thing that's comes out, like no, it's not smart to go off the motorway because then they go into suburbians and that's a lot of traffic lights, you know. It's obvious that I'm going to get traffic jams here, so let's stay on the motorway, right? That's where the ego comes in, you know. Your intuition says, hey, go right, and then the ego says, because the ego it responds to information that you already know, okay? So that's basically already stored in your subconscious. It's like a room of information and experience. Also your emotional pain body is being a big representer in there. So it says like, no, don't go right, because we know that area, we've been there before, we know there's traffic lights, there could be traffic jams, right? But your intuition says, hey, go right, don't go straight, it's going to save you a lot of time, because the collective, right, where we're all part of, is communicating that. It's sending you those signals. Now, and that's the same with your life purpose, okay? For example, you're stuck in a job that you don't like, you do it to pay the bills. Basically intuitive, you know that job doesn't make sense, it doesn't serve you at all, but you know it's practical, okay? So when you're trying to connect with being practical and realistic, sometimes it creates like an inner duality of trying to follow your intuition, right? So it's difficult, I know it's challenging to follow your intuition, your inner guidance in a material world, and I really know how difficult that can be. However, when you start to connect with your inner guidance, your inner voice, you could then suddenly say like, hey, wait a minute, maybe it would be very wise to leave that job, because that job is not fulfilling me, it's not serving my life purpose, it's not doing what I came here to do. And when you follow that, it's crazy. It's like it's not really tipping your toes in the water, it's jumping all in the ocean of cold water, which doesn't make sense. It's cold, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, you don't like it at all, but then suddenly you start to flow and you're free. So how awesome is that? Now that's totally against the rules of the ego. The ego don't like that at all. It's like, hey, do what you already know. It's okay, you know. The ego it has this fear, it wants to contract. Now when you dive all in, basically, of course, you know, the ego comes in, okay, hey, be practical, be rational, do what you already know, use your intelligence, use your mind. And then it wants to act on that. Like, use your marketing skills, use the sales skills, do that. And then that's again a little bit perhaps against intuition. And then you blow money, you know, for example, you blow money. I'm a good example of that, of blowing money. And then you run out of money. So then you have no other choice to say like, oh, now what? Now what? And then this guidance comes in, okay? Because now you have no concerns anymore. When you run out of money, you don't have any concerns anymore. It's weird, but doesn't make sense. But then the inner guidance comes in and say, okay, finally, you blow up your money, your ego can't control anything, right? You can't place more ads on the internet, you can't do this anymore, so now let me help you, let me guide you, let me give you that support. And then it's going to give you signals, right? It's going to send you information like, hey, perhaps you should go into that way. Well, what else you can do, because you run out of money? So you follow that, and then you start to know that, hey, wait a minute, I'm starting to reconnect with the collective. And when you start to connect with the collective, you know it's not longer about you anymore. You're serving the collective, you're doing your part, you participate in the ocean, and then the ocean starts to take care of you. This is an amazing experience, and I'm slowly starting to awake to that, right? It's difficult because we live in a world that is keeping us into quarantine, you know, of the collective and even higher. You know, we all have our guides that are supporting us along that way, because our guides already know, like, hey, I've got your contract right here, buddy, you know, hey, when is the time that you start to do what we've spoken to do, Alright, do you remember? Of course you remember, and you know there's a voice in you that you remember what you came here to do. But then a mind comes in. No. Don't listen to that. It's rubbish. It doesn't make sense at all. It's weird, you know? Weird is supernatural. And supernatural, the superconscious is communicating with us. Okay? Amazing. It's fascinating. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. And I can already feel it. It's an amazing experience. So that's basically what I just wanted to share with you. If you're receiving signals of like, hey, go into that way, you know, start writing about it, like, hey, what do I receive? What kind of information do I receive? And do I still feel that tomorrow, next week, next month? Because quitting your job right now is a crazy step perhaps right now, a big step. It's not recommended to do, but if you start receiving that, then start to communicate back. Don't ignore it, because your intuition is constantly remembering you, okay? So start to reconnect with that communicator, and then things start to roll out for you. So Jean-Paul, you're from London. Running time is running out, I'm seeing, so take care for now. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video.